Clerk Erdogan, please call the roll.
Council Bears.
Present.
I'm going to do this out of order. Vice President Caraviallo.
Present.
Council Knight.
Present.
Council Marks. Present. Council Morell.
Present.
Council Scarpelli.
Present.
President Falco.
Present. All 7 members are present. At this time, I'd ask everyone to please rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting in the Medford City Council will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information in the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with the right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the City of Medford website at www.medfordma.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen or watch the meeting may do so by accessing the meeting link contained herein. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the City of Medford or Medford Community Media website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. To participate remotely outside of Zoom, please email the city clerk, and his email address is ahurtbise@medford-ma.gov. That is ahurtbise@medford-ma.gov.
Mr. President,
Mr. President, suspend the rules.
On the motion of Councilor Scarpelli to suspend the rules, seconded by Councilor Knight. Clerk Erdogan, please call the roll.
Council Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo.
Yes.
Council Knight.
Yes.
Council Marks. Yes. Council Morell.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The rules are suspended. Councilor Scarpelli.
Mr. President, we take paper 20641, message from the Honorable President, from the Mayor, in regards to the moving to executive session, please.
Okay, communications from the mayor, 20-641, November 13th, 2020. Via electronic delivery to the Honorable President and members of the Medford City Council, City Hall, Medford, Massachusetts, 02155. Dear Mr. President and City Council, as I respectfully request that the City Council meet in executive session with representatives from my administration and legal counsel to discuss small cell telecommunications equipment siting in the City of Medford and impending litigation stemming from the same. I request that the City Council go into executive session on the following topic. Executive session, Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect potential litigation, Cellco partnership, DBA Verizon Wireless, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the City of Medford. Sincerely, Brianna Longo Kern, Mayor. Okay, on the motion of Councilor Scarpelli, seconded by Councilor Knight, to go into executive session. Clerk Erdogan, please call the roll.
Council Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo.
Yes.
Council Knight. Yes. Council Marks. Yes. Council Morell.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The council will now move into executive session. Communications from the mayor, 20-635.
You need to vote on it, don't you?
No, we just took, no, we're under suspension. So, 20-635, November 5th, 2020, to the Honorable President and members of the Medford City Council, City Hall, Medford, Massachusetts, 02155. Dear Mr. President and City Council, as I respectfully request and recommend that your honorable body amends the fiscal 2021 budget to appropriate $740,000 in available funds to the following departments as follows: $200,000 for union contracts, $100,000 early retirement incentive, $10,000 translation services, $95,000 facilities manager, $200,000 for facilities maintenance, and $65,000 administrative assessor, and $70,000 for 911 supervisor. Chief of Staff David Rodriguez and Finance Director Alicia Nunley Benjamin are present to answer any of the council's questions regarding the matter. Sincerely, Brianna Longo-Kern, Mayor.
Mr. President, thank you very much. This paper was before us last week, and it's a paper that looks to increase the fiscal year budget by $740,000 to fund union contracts, early retirement incentives, and various other services and positions. Over the course of the last week, as this matter was tabled, we did receive some documentation from the administration, job descriptions and the like. With that being said, I'd like to have the paper brought to the table for a further presentation by the administration and hopefully a vote for this.
Thank you. Council Knight, I'm sorry, did you want, I missed that last part. Did you want? Further presentation. Okay. So, Alicia and Dave, if you'd like to speak further to this paper, we'd appreciate it. I'll unmute, Alicia, you have been unmuted. Thank you.
Okay, so tonight's paper is programming some additional funds that we had available due to the governor level funding local aid that we wanted to add back to the operations, to stable operations for the city, because we had to cut positions, because we had estimated in a 10% cut to local aid when we had done the budget initially before the governor had announced that he was going to level fund back to the fiscal year 20 levels. Do you want me to go over each position, or is that all you want to hear for a summary?
It might be best to go over each of the positions, just to make sure we're all on the same page, bring everyone up to date.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm just pulling it up, one moment, please.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, so we would like to program $200,000 to negotiated salaries for union contracts, $100,000 for early retirement incentive to negotiated salaries, $10,000 to translation services, $95,000 for a facilities manager, $200,000 for facilities maintenance, $65,000 for an administrative assessor, and $70,000 for a 911 supervisor.
Okay.
Mr. President?
And some of the documentation that we had sent by previously that was mentioned by Councilor Knight included the job descriptions for each one of those positions. I do know that a number of the councilors had an opportunity to speak with some people in the administration today, as well as the mayor, regarding kind of the different perspectives as it relates to this perspectives in the supplemental budget. After some discussion and recognizing and understanding the strongly held feelings regarding the elections coordinator position, the administration is certainly willing to reduce the amount being placed into the building maintenance line by $100,000, hold that money in abeyance while those conversations continue to take place with the council and among the administration, so that we can formulate a plan moving forward together for that. Involving, of course, the Board of Registrars and other interested parties and stakeholders to talk about that in a thoughtful way. So we're happy to amend that paper tonight to reflect that and move forward and have those conversations after we do our after-action reports and our meetings with the clerk and with his team, and try to figure out a path moving forward on those issues.
Thank you. Councilor Marks.
Mr. President, thank you very much, and I appreciate the due diligence of the administration, providing the job descriptions. It was helpful, Mr. President. The issue at hand that I had last week, as Mr. Rodriguez just mentioned, was regarding the election coordinator position. I feel, and I won't speak for my other colleagues, that this is an issue that's been discussed at least for the last 2 to 2.5 years. There's a need in the community to have someone coordinate our elections, Mr. President. We've been very fortunate to have a great staff and a clerk that oversees the process. However, Mr. President, we're at a point right now with early voting, mail-in voting, absentee voting, and our voting rolls have increased over the last number of years, I believe by almost 10,000 new voters in this community, that in my opinion, and I'd like to hear from the city clerk, that this position is well warranted within this community. And, you know, I think we should get all the stakeholders, I agree, at the table. However, Mr. President, this is 2 years now. And I appreciate the commitment from the administration to take 100,000 out of the facilities, but I would like to have a time frame on that, Mr. President. I believe a job description has been drafted, sent to the appropriate personnel within the city administration, and if we can arrive at some type of time frame, Mr. President, I will give it my support tonight. If not, Mr. President, I am tired of lip service, not to say that that's the case here, but I am tired of lip service, and I want to see action, especially on such an important position in this community, Mr. President. If we can't guarantee to residents in this community that we can have a fair election, Mr. President, and an election that we know is on the utmost regarding security, safety, then we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing as elected officials. And I believe having this position would secure that, Mr. President, and it would secure us for a number of years moving forward as we see elections changing, not only in Medford, but across the nation. So at this point, I'd like to ask the city clerk, because, you know, this is not something we just want to create a position on. This is something that's needed, and I'd like to hear from the chief election officer in the community that's been overseeing the process for the last 2 years, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Marks. At this point, I recognize the city clerk, Adam Hurtubise. Clerk Hurtubise.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Councilor Marks. First, let me address one thing that you said, Councilor Marks. Our elections are full and fair and transparent and accurate, and they will continue to be so. Just as my predecessor ran full and fair and complete and transparent elections, so have I. At the same time, we do need a full-time election coordinator in this city. We have a part-time election coordinator who's outstanding. I don't think there's any disagreement there. I think, you know, she does a terrific job. The goal here is to, because there is election work year-round, the goal here is to have an election coordinator who works on election planning, election execution year-round, in addition to me. I mean, I do a little bit of election work every day, 12 months out of the year, and I do predominantly election work for, you know, 4 to 5 months out of the year. But having an election coordinator whose job is to plan and oversee and execute elections is going to fortify our efforts as a city and to fortify the efforts of the terrific team that I have in the Registrars of Voters office, so that we can continue to, you know, move into the 21st century with our elections and our election technology.
Can you just speak to the particular need?
I mean, there's a critical need, because the number of voters is the number of registered voters is over 41,000 right now. I believe about 10 years ago it was significantly less than that. It was between 25 and 30,000 voters. So we need to have additional staff on board to help administer these elections. I mean, to give you an example, I've been the city clerk for a little over 2 years, for 2 years and 2 months. In the last 14 months, I have overseen 5 elections. The preliminary election last year, the city election last year, the presidential primary in March, the state primary in September, and the recently concluded election, the national election, the quote-unquote presidential election, which we certified yesterday. 5 elections in the course of 14 months is an election more frequently than every 3 months. With the number of elections, with potential special elections coming down the pike, if, for example, I'm using an example, it's a hypothetical, but the hypothetical is if President-elect Biden were to appoint Senator Warren to his cabinet, then there would be a preliminary primary election for a special election to the Senate. Then there would be a general election to the Senate, again, a special election. There are ripple effects from that. If our member of Congress happened to run for the Senate seat and win, there would be 2 more elections. If, for example, a state rep then ran for Congress, there would be 2 more elections, and then there would be 2 more to fill the state rep seat. So there could be, in one scenario, up to 8 more elections this year, in the coming year, in addition to the 2 that are coming in September and November. That's a lot of elections. We're uncertain about whether there will be early voting in the city elections coming up, or whether no excuse mail balloting will be extended for city elections as well. That's a little bit unclear. But election work is work that requires planning every day, not just during the quote-unquote election season. It's a year-round job. The city clerk's job is a year-round job. And to have an additional staff member working full-time on that, who is incredibly well-versed in election work and has also become a primary liaison to the Secretary of Commonwealth's office, is a benefit to our city. And it only helps with those full and fair and transparent elections that you were speaking of earlier.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, and if I could just follow up,
Please,
Mr.
yes.
President, it's my understanding, and I think I mentioned this last week, that many years ago, there used to be 2 separate positions. There was the city clerk position and elections coordinator position that existed. The person in the election coordinator position, from my understanding, retired, and rather than looking for another election coordinator position, the city clerk took it on as a stipend position. And that's where we fell for many years. And I can guarantee you in all the surrounding communities that the city clerk is not the person that's in charge or coordinates the elections. And all the surrounding communities, that is a separate and distinct function and role and separate person. And I think we're at a point right now in this community and the size of this community that this is warranted. I don't believe anyone in the administration doesn't believe so either. But I want to make sure, Mr. President, that we're not here another year from now talking about the same issue and putting our resources into the same things over and over again. So that's why I'm hoping if we can get a commitment tonight on when we will see this position. I'll give the administration all the needed time they need to meet with the stakeholders and parties and draft the job description and so forth. But we need a time frame, Mr. President, that someone will be in that position. And that's how I will vote for this tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Marks. City Clerk Hurtubise.
I can just clarify something, Councilor.
Open your microphone.
I
Microphone,
know that.
so that people can hear you at home.
I know that many other cities and towns do have an election coordinator, but in also many of those cities and towns, the city clerk is still the chief election officer in a number of those cities and towns. I mean, I know Boston has a separate election commission. I believe Somerville has a separate election commission, but this position would be a person working directly with me on the election work. Would be sort of a bridge between the full-time staff in the
Right,
Registrar
and
Voter's
report
office
directly
and
to
my
you.
office. So just to clarify.
Right, no, I understand that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Marks. If I may, is the job description already been, is that already set? I know Councilor Marks had asked.
I did draft a job description and send it to Director Osborne, but and I know he's working on it, but I don't know what the final status of it is.
Thank you. Vice President Caraviallo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council Marks is right again. As the clerk said, you have a potential of 8 elections coming up next year. We're pretty much at almost at the end of November here, and we got another. And between the holidays and everything, we're gonna be into 2021, and a lot sooner than we think. And let's say to drag this out 4 or 5 months, we'll be right back into the same spot we're in now. So this is something I think should be filled by the first of the year. I think, I would think that would be the, acceptable for me if right after in January, this gets filled. The job description, Mr. Clerk, does that have to be advertised, for other people? I'm assuming that has to be advertised for other people.
I don't know the answer to that question. I do know that there has been precedent for converting part-time employees into full-time employees, but if it's a brand-new job, I don't know the answer to the question.
The job will be posted and advertised, yeah.
It has to.
Yeah, it has to be posted advertising. But again, let's say, we're 4 or 5 weeks away from 2021. I would offer the resolution that this job be filled within the second meeting of the council in January. I mean, we got 5-6 weeks to get this done. Let's get it done before we know it. You're going to have an election around the corner, and we're going to be back where we are. We're going to be saying we should have did this before. So I'll make the motion that within the job be filled by the second meeting in January.
So we have a motion from Vice President Cavallaro that the position be filled by the second meeting in January. And then it's seconded by,
So, point of information if I can.
point of information, Councilor Scarpelli.
Before I vote on this, if I can, I know that we all want this. I think all of us made it loud and clear that we need this position. The Chief of Staff has told us that we're pulling $100,000 aside so we can fund this position, so we have that. Can we really realistically ask the Chief of Staff, what is the timeline for the administration? Are we looking at, is 6 weeks not enough, but are we looking at, 2 months? Is that realistic? Looking at, is there a time limit that we can look this for time certain, date certain? I agree with my colleagues. I think if we could have a date certain, that would really help. So so I pose the question to the Chief of Staff. How does this process go? What do you need truly?
Chief of Staff.
Well, I think the conversation has to happen between the administration and the council as to what the final decision is. I think there are legitimate differences of opinion in terms of what this looks like, what it does, the job duties as described, the compensation levels. I think there's a lot of details here that we have to work through, and we have to discuss with not only with the council and with the administration, but also with the board of registrars, and have those conversations. I certainly can't commit to a final decision tonight. I'm not authorized to do that. I can, of course, authorize to speak in good faith and have these conversations outright and say, within the next 60 to 90 days, we'll have a final decision as to what this looks like and exactly how we proceed together.
So that we wouldn't entertain a date certain?
I try never to box myself in on dates certain.
Okay.
I'd say 60 to 90 days, I think, is appropriate for a good, meaningful conversation to take place.
Okay, I believe,
So, say 30 days, 3 months is what, this is what we're trying to get to, Mr. Rodriguez. I think that, you're looking maximum, you're saying 90 days, so if we looked at 3 months, and we can all agree to that, I think, because we're pretty secure what we're looking for on the council, so that piece will go pretty quickly. It's getting the registrars, I think, getting them meeting with them, finalizing the job description, and then moving forward with that. I think that, our piece here for the council, I think we're pretty clear what we want. That's why I'm a little.
And getting the mayor to sign off. The mayor's an important piece of this. And she has some thoughts on this.
No, I know.
So if I may, thank you, Councilor Scarpelli. He had a point of information.
Through the
Vice
chair.
President Cavallaro had the floor. Vice President Cavallaro.
Yeah, to the chair, to the Chief of Staff. I'm a little confused with your last explanation that you gave there. Can you say that again? I think maybe I missed something in what you were saying.
To which point, sir?
Well, when we asked about date certain, and you talking about the job description, and can you go back and repeat what you said just before Council
Sure.
Scarpelli came in?
Yeah, we're not making a commitment to create this position tonight. We're moving to take some of this money out of the maintenance account, hold it in abeyance.
Why aren't we moving
while
to
the
create the
discussion is-
position?
While the position is discussed. And I think that's the commitment that we're willing to make tonight.
So you're saying that you won't make a commitment to fund this position? Is that what you
I'm not
said?
authorized to do that tonight.
Is that what you said? There is no commitment to fund this position? Correct?
No, with the commitment is to have the conversation.
Correct. Vice President Cavallaro, do you have any further questions?
That's it for the moment.
Okay, thank you, Vice President Cavallaro. Councilor Bears.
I don't want to cut anyone off who wants to say something, but given what we just heard, I would suggest that we table this item, but I don't want to cut anyone off, so I'm not going to make that motion until everyone's had a chance to speak.
Thank you, Councilor Bears. We have Councilor Knight.
Mr. President, thank you very much. I think, the Chief of Staff is looking for 90 days to finalize the job description, have a meaningful conversation, and come to a final point. May it make sense for us, because there are other positions that are associated with this that I feel are important, like the 911 supervisor, Mr. President. I feel like it's a very important position, and I'd hate to see the 911 supervisor position go unfunded for an extended period of time because we're having a dispute about a position that's not on the paper before us. We all have our thoughts and our concerns about the Registrar of Voters' recommendation or opinion as to whether or not this position is needed, number one, what their thoughts are on it. Number two, is this position going to be a bargaining unit position? Is this position going to have supervisory authority over the staff in the voter registration office? These are some questions that need to be hashed out. I'd offer that, we give the administration 45 days to finalize the job description, convene with the Registrar of Voters, and report back to the council. And we can move forward on the paper that's before us this evening. There are some items on the paper before us this evening that I'm not crazy about, Mr. President, I'll be honest with you, but there are some things in the paper before us this evening that I feel are important. And the facilities manager and the administrative assessor and the 911 supervisor are three positions that we have job descriptions for that I think are a critical need in this community. So I think that there's room for compromise and the ability for us to compromise on this. I just don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Because we do have three positions that we do need to fund. And I also don't want to see the money disappear. So with that being said, I rest my case. But I think that, there has to be some middle ground and some compromise that we can reach here in order for us to move the ball forward on the elections coordinator position, but at the same time address some of the needs that this council's requested and voted for in the past. So with that being said, I can appreciate where everybody's coming from. However, I do have concern about that 911 supervisor's position in particular.
Thank you, Councilor Knight. Councilor Marks.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. And, this paper was on the agenda a week ago, and we sent back last Tuesday a message to the administration, and I believe the Chief of Staff was on the meeting last week with this council's intent. And to come back and say that he has no authority to make any decisions as the Chief of Staff, I think falls short of the mark, Mr. President, because clearly the council made it known what our intent was last week. And I agree with Councilor Knight, however, the paper was presented the way it was presented. I don't think we can go through this and pick and choose what items we'd like to move forward with and what items we'd like to sit on. I don't believe we can do that. If the administration wants to recall this paper and then submit another paper that we can agree upon, ideally, Mr. President, it would have been nice for the administration maybe to sit down in a committee of the whole with the council and say, hey, look, we have $740,000. These are the things we'd like to do in the community. What are your thoughts? Right? That didn't happen, and, that's so be it, Mr. President. But, clearly, I am not going to commit because the administration's unwilling to commit, because from what I'm hearing tonight, there is no commitment. You can wait your 45 days, they can come out with 10 different job descriptions, there's still no commitment to fund this position, Mr. President. And just because they come out with a job description doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy that that's a commitment. That is not a commitment, Mr. President. Been around a long time, and that is not a formal commitment. And I think we heard that here tonight. So, you know, as we stated before, if the council feels this is necessary, Mr. President, we stand up, send the paper back. So, you know, if that's the will of the council, I will follow that, Mr. President.
Any other questions from the council? Councilor Beers?
I would move to table this indefinitely.
Okay. And the motion of Councilor Beers to table this, which is undebatable, does this have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Marks. Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll. Oh, before you call the roll, Councilor Knight.
Oh, no, I was just getting ready to call the roll. I'm
sorry.
the third one, you know, so I hit my mic. So
I thought you wanted to weigh in again. Okay, apologies. On the motion of Councilor Beers to table, seconded by Councilor Marks, Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Counsel Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo. Yes. Counsel Knight.
No.
Counsel Marks.
Yes.
Counsel Morel.
Yes.
Counsel Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes. 6 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. The paper has been tabled.
While we're under suspension, take 20-476 off the table. Marijuana Commission for third reading.
While we're under suspension, 20-476, which is eligible for its third reading. Seconded by Vice President Caraviallo. Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
To take it off the table.
To take it off the table, correct.
Counsel Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo. Yes. Counsel Knight.
Yes.
Counsel Marks. Yes. Counsel Morel.
Yes.
Counsel Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes. 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The motion passes. 20-476. This is the Cannabis Advisory Committee. This is its third reading. It was in City Council on October 13th, 2020 for its first reading. Advertised November 5th, 2020 in the Medford transcript, and it is eligible tonight for its third reading, November 17th, 2020.
Move approval.
On the motion of Council Knight to approve, seconded by Councilor Bears. Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Counsel Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo. Yes. Counsel Knight.
Yes.
Counsel Marks. Yes. Counsel Morel.
Yes.
Counsel Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes. 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The motion passes.
Motion to revert back to the regular order of business, Mr. President.
On the
Second.
motion of Councilor Knight, seconded by Councilor Bears, to revert back to the regular order of business. Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Counsel Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo. Yes. Counsel Knight.
Yes.
Counsel Marks. Yes. Counsel Morel.
Yes.
Counsel Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The motion passes. Okay, hearings, 20-600, petition for grant of location, National Grid gas main locations, Medford, Massachusetts City Clerk's Office. This is a continuation of a public hearing from last week. I believe we have someone on the, let's see, we have Diana Cuddy from National Grid with us, if I'm correct.
Yes, good evening. Diana Cuddy, National Grid, 40 Sylvan Road, Waltham, Massachusetts.
Thank you, Diana. Okay, so when we last left off, I believe Councilor Marks had questions, if I'm correct. Councilor Marks, would you like to?
Thank you, Mr. President, and I appreciate the representative from National Grid being on the call again tonight. The question, I think, which was supported by this council, Mr. President, was to have Diana go back to National Grid regarding putting together some mitigation to address curbing in the area of Riverside Ave, that this construction work was going to be done. I think the total construction, paving, and marking, according to the representative from National Grid, was about $400,000. We by no means were looking for mitigation to that level. However, we were looking to address the lack of the appropriate height of curbing on Riverside Ave, which currently right now is level with the street and very dangerous to pedestrians. So I would like to just find out what Diana came back with regarding her conversation.
Diane, if you could please provide us with an update. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I spoke to our legal counsel, and he sent an email to city solicitor, and he did receive a response back today, but it was late in the afternoon. So they're still in a dialogue over the best way to work out these details. So I've been asked to see if we can continue this to the second week in December.
Be December 8th.
So that they have a chance to discuss all the items that they're going over.
So what is this?
December 8th.
Okay, on the motion of Councilor Knight to table this to the second meeting
Second.
of November, which I believe is December 8th, seconded by Vice President Caraviallo. Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
This is to table till December 8th. Council Bears.
Yep.
Vice President Caraviallo. Yes. Council Knight. Yes. Council Marks.
Yes.
Council Morel.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli.
Yes. 6 in the affirmative, 1 absent. The motion passes, and the matter is tabled until December 8th.
Mr. President, before she leaves, she said she was going to provide a number for us for Verizon for the double poles.
Yes, I did do that. I sent that over to Tim earlier.
Okay, because I had called her earlier in the week, and he didn't, last week, and he didn't have it. He has it now?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I sent it over today.
Oh, okay, thank you.
My notes today, and I noticed that I had written it down and I forgot to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Yep. I was just going to say, just to make a point about that. So we reached an agreement with Verizon that we own the pole going in, and then we take our wires, which are the top wires on the pole, over, and their job is to coordinate the other utilities, bringing their wires as they progress down the pole over to the new one, and then they take the old pole out. So I think part of the problem sometimes for them is to get the other utilities or whoever has other wires on the existing pole to go over. But I had some luck with the gentleman's name that I gave to Tim earlier today, and he's actually dealt with him on some other issues. So I'm hopeful that that will work out.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so that has been tabled to December 8th. The notice of a public hearing, 20-622, petition for grant of location, National Grid gas main locations, Medford, Massachusetts, City Clerk's Office. You are hereby notified that by order of the Medford City Council will hold a public hearing via Zoom on November 17, 2020, a link to be posted no later than Friday, November 13, 2020, on a petition of Boston Gas DBA National Grid for permission to locate gas mains as herein after described for the transmission of gas in and under the following public streets, lanes, highways, and places of the city of Medford, and for the pipes, valves, governors, manholes, and structures, fixtures, and appurtenances designed...
Mr. President, motion to waive the remainder of the reading, and if the representative from National Grid can give a brief synopsis of the request.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
So
Councilor. Thank you, Councilor Marks. On the motion of Councilor Marks, seconded by Councilor Knight, to waive the reading, to have a brief synopsis from a representative from National Grid. Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Council Bears.
Yep.
Vice President Caraviallo.
Yes.
Council Knight. Yes. Council Marks.
Yes.
Council Morel.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The motion passes. Ms. Cuddy, if you could please give us a brief synopsis of the project.
Sure, yes, thank you. Tonight I'm here to request a grant location to install and maintain approximately 532 feet of a new 4-inch plastic main extending from an existing 2-inch plastic main on Winter Hill Road going onto Medford Street and extending to the service location at 87 Medford Street.
Okay, thank you. This here has been approved by the chief engineer with the following conditions. The engineering division recommends that the grant of location be approved with the following conditions. Number 1, the grant of location is limited to approximately 532 feet of plastic gas main as described in the petition. To install and maintain approximately 532 feet of new 4-inch plastic gas, main extension from the existing 2-inch plastic main in the Winter Hill Road going onto Medford Street and extending to the service location at 87 Medford. Number 2, before starting work, the contractor shall notify DigSafe. It shall obtain all applicable permits for from the engineering division. The project must obtain a street opening permit pursuant to section 74-141 of the city ordinances prior to commencing work. Number 3, no other utility structures, conduits, duct banks, pipes, or any other apparatuses are adversely impacted. National Grid shall ensure that all sewer, water, and drain lines are marked prior to any excavation. Number 4, the sidewalk and street restoration must be done in consultation with the engineering division and per the requirements of an approved street opening permit. The concrete sidewalk must be replaced in kind and cleanly cut at the control joints. The de minimis concrete pavement over the trench shall be milled and overlaid as described below. A, Winter Hill Road includes approximately 130 feet of new gas main. This section of the street also includes trench patches associated with gas service work. Winter Hill Road should be restored with a mill and overlay that encompasses past National Grid patches. B, the side of Medford Street with the proposed main includes multiple gas-related trench patches that extend to the center seam of the roadway asphalt. It also includes trenches associated with other utility connections for 87 Medford Street. The Medford Street surface restoration should include mill and overlay from curb to center line seam. C, it is the understanding of the engineering division that the owner of the 87 Medford Street project will provide the street restoration. The engineering division takes no exception to the owner providing this scope. However, National Grid remains responsible for confirming that the restoration is performed in accordance with this grant of location, the standards of the City of Medford, and the associated street opening permit. Number 5, the new 4-inch gas main appears to be offset with the existing drain line by approximately 3 feet. This offset should be confirmed and maintained. Number 6, the new 4-inch gas main appears to pass in between 2 drainage structures near 85 Medford Street. The condition of these structures in lateral must be verified before and after construction with the Highway Division. Number 7, pavement markings must be restored. Number 8, the project site must be swept daily and shall be kept free of debris for the duration of the installation. Number 9, Medford Street is a highly traveled roadway for vehicles as well as pedestrians. A detailed traffic management plan must be submitted to the engineering division for review and approved prior to receiving a street opening permit. The TMP, traffic management plan, must include accommodations for pedestrians in addition to vehicles. Number 10, the plan submitted with the petition is not stamped by a professional engineer. National Grid must submit a professional engineer stamped plan to the engineering division prior to release of a street opening permit. Number 11, only one service is shown 87 Medford Street. This project is limited to that one service. If National Grid plans to provide additional services, especially to the east side of Medford Street as part of this project, the engineering division must be notified and the surface restoration must be curb to curb. Call 781-393-2501 for any accommodation. AIDS, TDD, 781-393-2516. For further information, contact the city clerk at 781-393-2425. The City of Medford is an EEO AA 504 employer. By order of the City Council, Adam L. Hurtubise, City Clerk. At this point, I would declare the public hearing open. Open to those in favor of the petition. Ms. Cuddy, would you just give your name and address for the record, please, if you are in favor?
Yes, Diana Cuddy, National Grid, 40 Sylvan Road, Waltham, Massachusetts.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that is in favor of the petition that would like to speak? Anyone? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I declare this portion of the hearing closed. Anyone in opposition to the petition? Is there anyone online tonight that is in opposition to the petition that would like to speak? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I declare this portion of the hearing closed. Do any of the councilors have questions?
Yep.
Councilor Scarpelli.
Again, if we can, do you know when this project, the only thing that, as we're getting later in the season, I'm just a little concerned about the trench work that's being done and the sinkage that happens during the time of year when the hot top is laid, and then with the frost, it sinks. So I'm a little concerned about, is the city engineer present? Or no?
I see him.
Yes, Tim McGivern, I'm going to unmute you. Okay, Tim McGivern, city engineer.
Hello, honorable councilors.
Hi, Tim.
To touch upon that point through the chair, so that's a separate process to grant permission for winter work, and it's a dual approval by the DPW commissioner and myself. And the default position is November 15th. We don't allow street opening permits in the city without a special exception.
Okay, so if it's done in that time, it's safe to say that we're not going to see the significant road sinkage that we see happening sometimes, Tim?
Well, we're in the moratorium now, and I
Right.
don't believe we've been asked permission for this particular project, but you do touch upon something that is correct. If you do work during especially freezing temperatures in the winter that is associated with soil,
Right.
then the next season, when the temperatures increase, or the next weeks, you can get consolidation that you wouldn't anticipate in cold weather. So that is one of the reasons why we try not to allow winter work.
Okay, so this isn't going off now, this project?
So we have prepared the TMP and we have the PE stamp drawings ready to go as early as tomorrow. And then, of course, there would be some guarantee on the condition of the patch.
I apologize, I'm asking the city engineer. All due respect, Ms. Cuddy, all due respect, I don't have much faith with the utilities when it comes to our streets. There are sinkholes all over the community because we didn't do our due diligence. So I want to make sure that if we do find a way to approve this, and we normally don't have a clerk of the works that follows up on these issues as we move forward, what guarantees do we have that the road is going to be in good shape come spring? Or if not, who is National Grid going to come back to fix that and put it to where we feel it's acceptable? Tim?
Am I still being addressed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tim, that was to you.
Yeah, so we do our best to try to hold utilities accountable if we come across a cave-in or if we come across a settlement that creates a hazard. We do try to stay on top of that. For something like this, if the commissioner were to give permission for winter work, weather dependent of course, then we would follow up in the springtime, usually a season later, to confirm any settlement issues or things like that. That is the procedure we try to have. So at least a season of settlement for the temporary situation to identify any issues. We do typically go through that procedure.
Okay, National Grid being the petitioner today, are they usually forthcoming with making those corrections if that happens?
Their team is typically is responsive to our concerns. Most recently, we noticed some issues with some curbing in Medford Square, and we called them up, and within a couple of days, I believe they were mobilized to take care of it. So that happens on a regular basis. We try to measure and inspect, shortly thereafter the work. Obviously if we can.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Scott Pelley. Councilor Knight.
Mr. President, thank you very much. I'm very familiar with this portion of the city, this area. Is this gas main going to be connecting to that construction project on Medford Street? Is that what 87 Medford Street is, that big building that they just built there?
Yeah, he's gonna pay
on the border?
Yeah.
It is, okay. And forgive me if I missed it, how long is the construction going to take for this 532 feet?
They anticipate it'll take about 2 weeks.
2 weeks. And when is the construction going to be performed? During the day, during the night?
That's up to the conditions on the permit.
Tim?
Well, they haven't given it.
So that we always discuss that with the police, and we take a look at that. For this stretch road, I'm not exactly sure what would drive us to say have it done at night, for example. But we always take a look at that pretty closely and talk with the police department if we need to look at night work or weekend work or off-hour work. But we haven't looked at this particular project in that depth quite yet.
Is it possible we could just have a pre-construction meeting with the abutters on the roadway before the work begins?
Yep,
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Knight. Any other questions from the council? On the motion, Vice President Caraviallo to approve, seconded by Council Knight. Clerk Urbanez, please call the roll.
Council Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo. Yes. Council Knight. Yes. Council Marks.
Yes.
Council Morel.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motions, orders, and resolutions 20-640 offered by Vice President Caraviallo and Councilor Knight. Be it resolved that the Medford City Council send its deepest and sincere condolences to the family of longtime West Medford resident Leo McHugh, whose presence in our community will be dearly missed. Vice President Caraviallo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I don't think anybody in West Medford who was a Democrat in the city didn't know Leo McHugh. Leo McHugh was doing ward and city politics long before any of us were sitting around this table here. I met Leo in, I think it was 1968, 69, when he was a student teacher, a substitute teacher at the high school. That's when I first met him, and I became friends with him. We've been friends for a long time, and like I said, here's a man, BC Golden Eagle graduate with the clerk. Again, this man, he bled blue Democratic politics in the city of Medford. Democratic Party is going to be a sore spot for him to be missed from the party again. And I send his condolences out to his family. As I say, Leo's going to be missed. I mean, he was holding a sign, Biden sign, just last week, even after the election. And I saw him in West Medford and see him all the time, and shocked when I got the call. But he's a good man, good Democrat. Democratic Party in the city, it's a big loss for them. So, thank you to Leo.
Thank you, Vice President Caraviallo. Councilor Knight.
Mr. President, thank you very much. In addition to Leo's role in Democratic politics there in the city of Medford, he was also a great family man, a great husband, lived on Jackson Road for a long time, and I can first remember meeting Leo as a young kid, first getting involved in politics, working for Senator Shannon, and Leo pulling me aside down at the West Medford Spa and talking to me about various issues going on in the community. So I remember Leo running for office. I remember Leo chairing the Ward 6 Democratic City Committee. But most of all, I remember Leo being someone who genuinely cared for people and went out of his way to give a kind word, to help out people in the neighborhood. And just as a young kid, to give me a pat on the back and tell me keep doing what I was doing. So it was very motivating, Mr. President. He's going to be sorely missed, and I'm sad to see him go. So with that being said, I echo Councilor Caraviallo's condolences.
Thank you, Councilor Knight. Councilor Marks.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I want to thank my two colleagues for putting this on. This was a real big shock, Mr. President. Leo was always very spunky. He'd be the first to give a good word and also tell you the truth on something, too. He didn't hold back any punches when you talked to Leo. He'd tell you how it was. And as Councilor Caraviallo put it so eloquently, he was involved in a lot of different things in the community. But what stands out to me is the involvement, those late-night meetings that we used to have with the Democratic Ward and City Committee. He would be out on every issue, supporting his cause. He was a man of really of integrity and someone you can count on as a friend. And he will be sorely missed, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor
Thank you.
Marks. And if I just want to thank my council colleagues as well for bringing this forward. Leo was a great guy. I met him when I first got involved in running for office. He was always very encouraging, always willing to talk about issues, and a big part of the Democratic Ward and City Committee. He will be sorely missed, and our thoughts and prayers go to his family. At this point in time, I'd ask everyone to please rise for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. On the motion of Councilor Scarpelli, seconded by Councilor Bears to take Oh, I'm sorry. On the motion of, on the motion of Vice President Caraviallo and Councilor Knight, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli, Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Council Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo. Yes. Council Knight.
Yes.
Council Marks. Yes. Council Morel.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. On the motion of Councilor Scarpelli, seconded by Councilor Beers, that we take papers under suspension. Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Council Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo. Yes. Council Knight.
Yes.
Council Marks. Yes. Council Morel.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. 20-642, offered by Councilor Marks and Councilor Scarpelli. Be it resolved that a moment of silence be held for longtime Medford resident Trieste Silvio on his recent passing. Councilor Marks.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. Anyone that knew Trieste knew him as a real family man, married for many, many decades to his wife, Lucy. They were always together. Trieste was a loving husband, a loving father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, Mr. President. And they were a staple, he was a staple in South Medford for many years, a family very involved in the community, and he will be sorely missed, Mr. President. I would ask if we could, in honor of him, that this meeting be dedicated in Trieste's Silvio's name, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Marks. Councilor Scarpelli.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Councilor Marks, for bringing this forward. And Mr. Silvio, I grew up with the Silvios. Frankie was, his youngest Frank was one of my closest friends and a solid member of our community, someone that loved South Medford. And as this family would tell you, if you're a politician, you don't win unless the Silvios are pushing for you. So we are going to miss Mr. Silvio. I know Mrs. Silvio was, she's a fixture at the McGlynn as a lunch mother, and I know Mr. Silvio used to be there every day to pick her up, and someone that we're going to miss seeing around the city. So our condolences to the Silvio family. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Scarpelli. At this point, I would ask everyone to please rise for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. On the motion of Councilor Marks and Councilor Scarpelli, seconded by Councilor Knight, that we have a brief moment of silence and that we dedicate this meeting in Mr. Silvio's name. On that motion, Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Council Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo. Yes. Council Knight. Yes. Council Marks.
Yes.
Council Morel.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. Reports of committees, 20-545, November 10th, 2020, Subcommittee on Ordinance Report. Councilor Knight, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, Mr. President, this was a review of some of the ordinances that we've been working on. We went through a number of items on the agenda that were outstanding and have prioritized those items. We will be reconvening next month to go over them. There are a couple of items that we were discussing, extended illness leave bank for city and school department employees, $15 minimum wage for city and school department employees. Councilor Marx's small cell tower ordinance was something that actually came up in the discussions as well. And I'm missing something here. I'm leaving one out. Councilor Morel, help me.
Short-term rentals.
Short-term rentals, is exactly what it was. So she sponsored that, so I was throwing it out there, you know. Mr. President, we made some great progress, and we've developed an action plan. We prioritized the papers, and we're going to be moving forward, hopefully to a committee of the whole, with a work product for us all to review and be proud of.
Great news. Thank you, Councilor Knight. On the motion of Councilor Knight, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli, Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Council Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo. Yes. Counselor Knight.
Yes.
Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Morel.
Yes.
Counselor Scarpelli. Yes. President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. If I'm correct, it's records, right?
2 sets.
2 sets of records. So we have the records. The table of records of October 27, 2020 were passed to Council tonight. Council tonight, how did you find those records?
Long and in order, Mr. President. Move approval.
Second.
On the motion of Council tonight to approve the records, seconded by Councilor Bears. Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Counselor Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo. Yes. Counselor Knight.
Yes.
Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Morel.
Yes.
Counselor Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. Excuse me, the records of the meeting of November 10th were passed to Councilor Marks. Councilor Marks, how did you find those records?
I review the records, find them to be in order, and move approval, Mr.
On
President.
the motion of Councilor Marks, seconded by Councilor Knight to approve the records. Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Counselor Bears.
Yep.
Vice President Caraviallo. Yes. Counselor Knight.
Yes.
Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Morel.
Yes.
Counselor Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes.
Motion to adjourn.
On the motion of Councilor Beers to adjourn the meeting,
Mr.
seconded
President, before we adjourn,
by Councilor Marks.
thank you, Mr. President.
Thank
If
you.
The council last week voted to have an on-site meeting up to Heights on Fulton Spring Road and so forth.
You are correct.
This Saturday, Mr. President,
You are correct.
I would ask that we get a correspondence from the city administration regarding the reverse 911 that I believe Councilor Knight requested to notify area residents.
Okay.
And also that we get correspondence of the location and the time. I think we established 11 o'clock.
Time was 11 a.m. I think it was going to be the corner of, if I'm, Fern and Fulton Spring Road.
I'll get some. John hates buying food for us. I would try to get
I don't mind, I'll buy it.
that notice has to go out tomorrow, so I make sure that
Yeah.
I get them that.
Awesome.
I'm just gonna have it go out to all of Ward 2, Precinct 1, because that's gonna.
That's fine, and it's
Yeah.
a city council committee of the whole meeting.
Correct, and I was waiting for department heads to get back to me, so I haven't heard from everyone, but I'll give a final call.
That's like 50 degrees too, so 55. Nice one.
There you go.
Beautiful.
Bring your rake.
11.
It's 11 o'clock, so, okay.
Send us a rake at the Falcon.
Mr. President,
Councilor Marks.
Mr. President, I just want to stress, it's extremely important that when we meet as a council to discuss neighborhood concerns, public safety concerns, that we get a buy-in from the city administration.
Absolutely.
And it's extremely important that all the parties that can make substantial change in this community be present, Mr. President. So I would be extremely disappointed if we didn't see the leadership in this committee, this community, show up to this particular committee of the whole meeting when we're discussing very important issues up the Heights, Mr. President.
I would agree with you as well. Thank you, Councilor Marks. On the motion of Councilor Beers, seconded by Councilor Knight, that we adjourn the meeting. Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Councilor Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo. Yes. Councilor Knight. Yes. Councilor Marks.
Yes.
Councilor Morel.
Yes.
Councilor Scarpelli. Yes. President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, good night.